You are now listening to TOL Podcast, Thinking Out Loud with your host, Jay Lip.
What up, world? It's your boy Jay Lip back at it yet again, Thinking Out Loud Podcast. You know what this is and you know who I am. And tonight we got the big homie in the building, the crypto guru, as I like to call him, KG. KG, what's good, baby?
What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing out there?
Representing Metro Detroit, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, man, let's jump straight into it. Bitcoin has been the buzzword going around the office, going around the thread, going around the social media conversations. Before we get into Bitcoin specifically, I want to ask and get some perspective for the layman out there, myself included, who may not even really know, besides the fact that Bitcoin making a lot of people a lot of money. What is it that is the basis of Bitcoin? What, in essence, is Bitcoin? And I believe they call it cryptocurrency. Could you expound on that? Help us understand what that is real quick?
Absolutely. I can definitely explain on that. And before I begin, I do just want to let everybody out there know that I'm not your money manager. All the advice and, the information I'm giving you is just information that I've basically perceived and broke it down to the best of my knowledge. It's still important for you to go out and do your own due diligence before making any decisions. Just use this information as a basis for your research to go out there and find what will work for you. But in short,
and I'm going to give you also a little bit of a prelude and say, this is Thinking Out Loud. So, none of what we say is gospel. We just having a conversation. But the conversation tonight just happens to be with a very knowledgeable brother about a topic that I myself, amongst others, would like to have knowledge on. So go ahead, brother. Let us know. Drop them gems.
So basically what Bitcoin is, it's a cryptocurrency. It's actually the first cryptocurrency that was created in 2009 after the financial collapse here in the States and really globally. It was actually created by an individual who goes by a moniker, if you will. I believe the last name was Satoshi, right? And the reason why it was created is because a lot of people were actually losing faith in the money that we use every day. Our governments were just basically printing money off like it was going out of style. And, ever since the gold standard, we've actually been trying to get back to something that was meaningful. And so this cryptocurrency was basically created to basically have individuals who didn't maybe want to use money because, again, the dollar really wasn't worth anything back then.
And let me jump in real quick.
Yeah.
Let me jump in real quick. I don't mean to interrupt you, but when you mentioned the dollar not being worth as much because we've gotten away from the gold standard. So at one point, correct me if I'm wrong, but a dollar was actually backed by a certain ounce of gold, correct?
Yeah, that's right. You can actually get these bills today, like these actual denominations of bills. You can look online and the bills that actually have like red stamps and blue stamps, not like today where it has the green stamps. Those were the bills where back in the day you could actually take that certificate. It was actually known as a certificate of deposit into a bank. And let's say you had $5. You could present that $5 note and they would actually give you $5 worth of gold.
Okay. And so since then, and let's give some perspective, are we talking decades ago? Is this something that was 50, 60 years ago? Like when did the gold standard become obsolete and the dollar became basically not necessarily worth the paper and cotton that it's printed on?
Sure. So, actually, it wasn't really too long ago. When we look back and see when we actually had the gold standard, that's really when our economy had its biggest boom. This was just recently, I'd say, in the terms of LBJ, I think it was short after JFK was killed.
Okay. So let's jump back into it. So just now we have the perspective that the dollar is not as valuable as it once was because it's not backed by anything at this point, correct?
Yeah, that's right. It's just basically being backed by just faith. Like we get together as a people, our government, our centralized bank prints the money and it basically says this is what it's worth. And we as the citizens of the country, in short, just basically go along with it. I'm sure there's, other scientific factors, but at the gist of it, that's what it is.
Okay, so continue on what you were saying as far as how cryptocurrency is different.
Yeah, so cryptocurrency is different. Well, they're both money. And at the end of the day, you're basically just assigning value to something, right? It's just that in today's day and age, when we look at, especially millennials, when you look at what our parents may have went through, or maybe you have a neighbor or a friend that went through this during the recession, people were losing jobs, people were losing their homes. And this group of people just got together and basically said, well, we're going to create a currency for ourselves and basically sell the goods and services that we want to sell using that currency. So it's just something that people naturally just went towards. Today, it's become something totally different due to, other factors.
Okay, and in the term crypto,
Hmm.
currency. I look at the first half of that phrase or the first half of that term. Crypto is a little bit it's a little bit intimidating because when I hear crypto, I'm thinking of like something that's cryptic, secretive, or misleading. And you have some better knowledge on that. Crypto actually is a reference to cryptography.
Yeah, that's right. Cryptography is actually the math that's used whenever these transactions take place. So basically what happens is you'll have a cryptocurrency like Bitcoin, and part of the allure of Bitcoin is that it's decentralized. So it doesn't belong to any one government. If you own Bitcoin, or if you own pieces of a Bitcoin that are known as a Satoshi, you basically own this currency. Right. And because of that, it's decentralized. So every time that you take place or you buy or you sell something on the marketplace, it actually goes out on a distributed ledger where anyone who's running that software can actually see transactions taking place. It makes it incredibly difficult for a fictitious transaction to pop up in the blockchain, and the decentralized network is known as a blockchain. But it makes it hard for a fictitious transaction to pop up in the blockchain because all of these nodes or all of these blocks are actually communicating with one another. And in order for one record to show up, it's got to show up in a few different records almost simultaneously at the same time. Or it has to be, everyone's got the same history. And as a new transaction take place, it's added to everyone's ledger.
Now, you mentioned that Bitcoin was the first of the cryptocurrency wave, so there are others.
Oh, there's hundreds. There's thousands, and it seems like more and more are coming on any day. Anyone can basically create a cryptocurrency. You just need a really good developer, a good programmer. They run on different technologies like Ethereum based cryptocurrencies run on the Ethereum blockchain, and the Ethereum technology. I think it's an ERC20 coin that a lot of cryptocurrencies that run on Ethereum actually use.
Hold on, don't lose us. What do you mean by on the Ethereum technology? What does that mean?
Sure. So it's basically, again, because I want to lose the users or the listeners here. It's basically the same thing if you have people who deal with Android phones versus people who deal in Apple phones. So it's just two different technologies that they're created on.
Okay, so Bitcoin may be, like, to your example, is just one brand of the same product, and then you have other currencies. I believe another one's called Litecoin.
Yep, you have Litecoin, you've got Ether, you've got Gas, you've got Neo. It's
So
a
a whole
ton.
series. So a whole
A whole
series of
series.
different.
Some are faster than others. Some, again, because Bitcoin was the first one. Um, like anything, right? You look at the internet when it first came out, it wasn't as fast, right? So Bitcoin isn't the fastest coin, but they have other cryptocurrencies out there that can complete transactions faster. But basically, Bitcoin was the model to kind of show all the other cryptocurrencies, like the framework, how things can be done.
How can we trust cryptocurrency? Now, you're saying that there's a lot of what it sounds like is because of the cryptography and all that goes into developing these systems that the currency has to exist on to be legit. Is this safer than the dollar? Is this safer than the denominations of currency of other countries?
I mean, well, up until recently, like I said, it came up in 2009, and right now, 2017, it's basically taken on an identity, all of it, on its own. And I don't know if I'll say that it's safer. I will say that it represents different opportunities. And, you'll speak with some people, and some people will say, well, it's a bubble, or, it's this, it's that. I think that's the wrong question to be asking. I think the right question to be asking is, what's the window of opportunity to get in and make something great happen for not only myself, but maybe my friends and even my family, right? What's that timetable still look like? Because as long as there's time available, in my own biased opinion, I think people should get involved with cryptocurrency.
Okay, bet. What is some of the recommended ways that people can take basically the baby steps of introducing themselves into the cryptocurrency market?
I mean, that's a great question. And, really to answer that, basically just take the framework that you have with traditional investing, right? A buy and hold strategy. If in 2010, if you just would have spent $10 on Bitcoin, it would have afforded you 3,333 coins. Today, that value would be worth millions, right? This year alone, we're already up to 1,000% last month, and over the year, I think we're above 5,000%, right? So if you just wanted to get started with Bitcoin, you can just easily open an account on an exchange and just buy. Again, you don't have to buy a whole coin. You can buy a fraction of a coin or a piece of a coin, a Satoshi, and just hold it. And as the value of Bitcoin goes up, the value of your position will go up as well.
Well, let's be real. What's the current value of Bitcoin?
The current value of Bitcoin right now is $17,000,
Okay, so
800.
looking realistically, and I really can only speak for myself. I don't have 17 G's to drop on a cryptocurrency coin.
Yeah.
So for most folks, I would assume we'd just be investing into a piece or what you call a Satoshi.
Yeah, a piece of a Bitcoin is Satoshi. And again, the best piece of advice I can give comes from traditional investing, right? Never invest more than you can stand to lose. And obviously don't invest money that you'll need in the next handful of months, right? Just a baseline that I use for my own investing, my own personal investing is, I'm not going to invest money that I need in the next 5 months, right? I think the emergency fund is to make sure that you have funds set aside for 8 months for your living expenses. Okay. So if you take that in conjunction with, not investing with money that you'll need the next 5 months, obviously you can deduce that you'll only have funds that you don't need. It's just the discretionary income. And that's what I would say you can invest.
Okay. And since Bitcoin is so far ahead at the 17,000 valuation mark, what about the competing currencies? Are they anywhere close to that? Are there some currencies that are still pennies that we can get on that may have some profitability if the growth profile is the same trajectory as Bitcoin? Like, where are we at in the game right now? Because to me, it seems like Bitcoin, the people who, if you wanted to win and maximize profit, you had to be an early adopter. And now with Bitcoin, can you still be profitable, or should you look at the other competing current cryptocurrencies rather and try to buy up those penny stock, as I would call them penny stocks, but those penny values or those penny costing cryptocurrencies?
I'll put it to you like this. If we were having this conversation last week before the futures market opened, I would say, absolutely, you can still, buy Bitcoin. And the reason why is because in one day you could have these drastic swings. Now, since, the futures market has opened, we haven't seen the wild swings where literally it's going up thousands and thousands of dollars in a day.
I gotta press the pause again.
Sure.
You said the futures. You said the futures market.
The futures market, yep.
Okay, what is that?
So basically, futures market this thing goes back all the way to, old school, Japan. Basically, they had farmers who would, they were rice farmers. And like any crop, some years you get more than others, right? So the agreement was made between farmers and business owners to basically lock in values or prices for a certain good at today's prices with an agreement to take ownership of that product or that good or service at a date in the future. So basically what this allowed to happen was it allowed people to understand what it was that they were buying, locking those prices. So on some years where you didn't have as many crops, your expenditures wouldn't be super high. Okay. Now, if you look at that, what it's, on Bitcoin today, it's basically a market that people who are, way smarter than I will try to use to speculate the value of Bitcoin. Of course, they have to purchase the underlying asset, but they basically use it to dictate or, speculate where the price of Bitcoin is going to be. With that being said, I don't think that the opportunity to invest in Bitcoin has come and gone. I still think investing in Bitcoin is a good thing because, again, you can put in a little bit of money. That position in Bitcoin can appreciate. You can then, again, take off some of your profits and invest your profits into some other altcoins. Or maybe you pull out your entire investment, or maybe you just pull out your principal, and now you're playing with house money. Whenever you get into an investment with house money, you're going to be in the black, and that's usually the position you want to be in.
Okay. And with that being said, thinking about this whole futures market, is that what the term you used?
Yep, it's a futures market. Yep.
Okay, so with the futures market, this is basically people betting on what they believe will be the future value of Bitcoin at a certain point.
Yeah, you can say that. In short, it's basically people betting on, what they feel the price is going to be. Although your listeners should know that the futures market and the actual Bitcoin price don't trade at the same price, right? So they're usually, from what I've seen so far, and again, this just came out a week ago, or what will be a week here on Sunday, they've usually been about $2,000 apart, right? So that's why I'm saying you can still get in, invest in Bitcoin, and still see somewhat of, promising gains. We're just not seeing the wild, drastic swings that we used to.
Okay, I want to save that futures market conversation for a part two. I want to focus today on kind of the core. So we went through the cryptocurrency, the background. We talked about Bitcoin a little bit now to kind of dig deeper. And you've already mentioned that you do not believe it's too late. However, how high do you think this value can go? Because it's amazing to see basically something that's been created. Literally, no physical representation, no tangible coin exists that
Hmm.
represents Bitcoin, but it's all internet, computer, programming based valuation. It's almost like an intrinsic value
Hmm.
that has been grown exponentially. Where do you see the cap or the ceiling? Because are we expecting to see it go from 17,000 to potentially 100,000 over the course of the next 2 years?
Well, I think we'll probably see it hit 18,000 within the next couple of days. So, I mean, even if we
Wow.
just stayed on that trajectory, even from where we've been at this year, you've got people again who are much smarter than I. And I don't have this whole thing figured out. Again, I'm just a guy who, takes time to figure out the information the best way that I can and take action to put that information into practice. And, you've got people who are much smarter than I. John McAfee, who is a cybersecurity titan, right? And his firm looks at things like this all day, every day. And he thinks this thing is going up to 500,000 in the next 3 years. Earlier this year, he was using a model that said, oh, we'll basically be at 17,000 by the end of the year. Now, at that point, we were on the cusp of, again, breaking 18,000. And shortly thereafter, we had hit 20, right? And 20 right now is the all-time high. He then had to go back and adjust the model and said, yeah, we'll probably be at 50 sometime in the next couple of years, 500,000 at least 3 years, right? You've got surveys that are taken out and they say people who are holding Bitcoin long-term are not really thinking about selling the vast majority of their holdings until Bitcoin is at least 225,000, right? So,
Jesus.
yeah, so personally, in my own opinion, I don't think we've seen any inkling of where this thing is going to go. I personally think this could go well over, $100,000. And that's why I think if you're buying and holding is probably a good idea. But don't be afraid to use the gains that Bitcoin can provide you to get into other altcoins to answer your question from earlier. Yes, absolutely. You can definitely get into other altcoins, but you have to do your due diligence because everybody's trying to capitalize off of, the success that Bitcoin has had. And there's a lot of scams that are going on. Keep in mind, this is still the wild, wild west, right? Now, while it's not regulated, what we do know is that people who have made money in industries before have usually made a lot of money when that market was unregulated. So now if you're, thinking about making money, now's the time, but you have to do your homework.
All right. And believe that is the most important and fundamental part of this, especially again with the warning that you gave at the beginning of the episode. Do your research. This is just a
Yeah.
conversation between someone who has done their research and honestly someone who's just trying to, leech off of them. So I appreciate you for
Yeah.
being that for me being a parasite onto your brain right now. Appreciate you, bro. With that being said, so basically the recommendation, not official, but just me and you talking. If
Hmm.
I'm taking your advice, I'm saying or what I'm hearing rather is invest in Bitcoin now. Use the gains to reinvest into other alternate coins, but hold on to the original Bitcoin investment. Just sit on it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you why, because even if you try to get into altcoins, unless they're running on a different technology, a lot of coins, they want Bitcoin, right? So a lot of times you'll put money into, like, let's say you want to buy, I don't know, like K-Coin, right? It's not a real coin. I'm just using it for an example. Let's say you want to buy K-Coin, right? K-Coin says in order to buy K-Coin, you have to spend, X amount of Bitcoin, right?
Oh, so
Well, I'm
you
not,
can't even use you can't even actually buy it with currency like
no,
dollars.
no,
Oh,
no,
that's good
there's no.
information. That's good
No,
information.
yeah, you have to set up an account on an exchange, and I have a link that your listeners can use, and if they do, they're actually going to get an additional $10 for their first $100 purchase. And the reason why that's important is because when you are moving money back and forth, there are fees. Now the fees are used to make sure that websites run properly, to make sure that developers have the resources that they need to keep the website up, so on and so forth. So
Sound
if you
like
use the
maintenance
link.
costs, basically.
Maintenance costs, exactly. It's just overhead. So if they use the link that I can give them, they're actually going to earn an additional $10 to pay for transaction fees. Or again, if they just want to buy and hold, you can either buy $100 worth of Bitcoin, or you can use the link that I have and you can buy $110 worth of Bitcoin.
But
See what I'm saying?
yeah, we definitely gonna make sure we drop that before we end this. I want to kind of double back for a second. So, step one is get onto an exchange.
Get onto
Now,
an exchange. Yep.
the link that you have will allow us to do that.
That's right. Yep.
Okay. Now, I've also heard about having a wallet. What is
Yes.
that?
So the wallet is basically, if you or I or, anyone out there that owns a physical wallet were to actually reach in their pocket, they'd be able to pull out a wallet. It's just a place where you hold, your physical money. With cryptocurrency, it's just a place where you actually hold your digital currency. And there's a few different wallets, right? So the first kind is a digital wallet. It's held on the exchange. Every time you log in, you get to see your balances. And again, as Bitcoin appreciates or depreciates, the value that you have in your wallet will act accordingly. Okay. The next is a hardware wallet. A hardware wallet is something that you actually sync up to your computer and you can take it with you. Right now, this is great because it helps prevent any, attacks or hackings. If someone does get into your account and all your cryptocurrency is held on your physical wallet, then, they don't have anything. You have your physical wallet. The downside is if anything happens to that wallet, if you don't have your private keys, that can be very, very problematic. You might just be without coins. Okay. The next kind is a desktop wallet. So you can actually house all of your coins on your desktop wallet that's on your computer. Personally, I don't recommend it because if anyone were to get into your computer, they'd have access to like all of your crypto and they could do whatever they want with it. The most probably safe and secure, although it's a little, I don't want to say barbaric, but it's kind of old school, is a paper wallet. A paper wallet, you basically create a private key, you store the private key, and you put the cryptocurrency associated with, I believe it's like a 20 or so digit code. And as long as you have the master key and as long as you have that code, you can basically open it, transfer coins here, there, wherever they need to be. Now, while I say it's on paper, it's actually being stored somewhere possibly like in a cloud. The paper wallet is something that I'm not 100% familiar with. I've still got to go back and do a little bit of due diligence on, but in short, that's basically how it's used.
Okay, so digital wallet, hardware wallet,
Yep.
desktop wallet, paper wallet.
In a paper wallet. Yeah.
Okay. Even though you started with the digital, which sounded like it was the safest, but you're saying the paper wallet is the safest, even though it's the most aged technology.
Yeah, well, it's the paper wallet is the one that you actually have the absolute most control over, right?
So
So
to
if I'm
me,
using,
would that equate to almost like an old school person who uses cash only versus using like a chip card?
I put it, yeah, kind of, yeah, or the person that actually takes their money out of the bank and like stashes in the mattress versus like having it in the bank,
Great
right?
analogy. Okay, I
Yeah.
follow you. So you get on the exchange, you get you a wallet. Do both of those kind of coincide, or do you have to
Yeah,
set up
most
both
no, most
separately?
exchanges are actually going to have their own wallets, and keep in mind that you can't like if you want to buy again. I'm just going to go use the example I gave earlier. If you want to use Kcoin, and again, it doesn't exist. It's just an example. If you want to use Kcoin, Kcoin may only exist on a certain exchange. Now, with that exchange, you'll probably get your own wallet. So that's why you kind of have to think about what coins you want to invest in, because then you've got to keep track of where they're at, what wallets they're in, because not every exchange has the same wallet or can hold the same coins or
Okay.
does hold the same coins.
Okay, all right. So that's all good. That's all basically Bitcoin for Dummies type information getting us started. Really, the final topic I want to discuss with you is being a black person, being that this is thinking out loud. This is what we do. This is what we represent. It seems like there's been a tradition of reluctance from the black community to get involved with not only investing but just the adoption of new ideas when it comes to financial opportunities, because just the history of how things have gone in our nation, we're not
Yeah.
as trusting of something that we don't know of, or we don't know someone else personally who has had success with said opportunity. So with that, what are your thoughts on that? Is that something that still plagues us? Do you find reluctance or resistance from people that you try to share your message with?
I think I take a little bit of a different approach. I understand the question. I take a little bit of a different approach. My thing is, for the most part, I don't gain anything when anyone uses my advice. For me, it's just it's something that's a feel good. Like if I can share this information with people, and if it just helps one person change their situation, for me, it would have been totally worth it, right? As far as if people are reluctant to the information or not, I think historically we haven't really been, and I want to paint with a broad brush here, but, we don't know people who are authority figures in much of anything outside of like hair, sports, music, you know what I mean? So when it comes to finances, like, especially this new type of finance, this financial technology, we don't know anyone who's of color that's really in an authoritative position, right? So a lot of times we're stuck. We want it to be blessed by someone else who maybe does look like us before we want to get in. Like we're always watching, so to speak, before we want to put our own money in. And a lot of times when you have that mentality, you're missing opportunities, right? I was speaking to a gentleman the other day, and he wanted to get involved with cryptocurrency. And he had, again, come from the old investing background where it's like stocks, bonds, things of that nature. And I was telling him about crypto, and it made sense to him. And he was ready to go that day. Now, his risk tolerance was a little bit less than, someone who maybe gets involved with this. So he wanted a coin that had a little bit slower growth. So I, explained what coins kind of fit that profile, and he was ready to pull the trigger that night and buy his first altcoin. And doing so, he's already up like 4 or 5, he's already 4 or 5x his money because he heard something that made sense to him. He felt comfortable with it, and again, he didn't invest more than he wanted to. And because of that, he's made money. Where other people who have hit me up in my inbox and have said, hey, man, I need you to walk me through this. And, I've done that. And like they haven't really taken the action, or they haven't necessarily taken the action they need to achieve the end results. And I'm like, well, no one's going to do it for you. I mean, if this is something that you want, you've got to take action. You've got to move on the information that you're getting.
Amen. Yes. Yeah. Actually, it's funny that you share a sentiment that is this is similar to another close friend of mine who's also been an early adopter, or basically a person who's tried to share knowledge with me and my brethren as far as cryptocurrency and Bitcoin in particular. And his advice, unfortunately, initially had gone on deaf ears because it was something so foreign, and we're like, I don't really know about this, but we just gonna wait and see. Well, unfortunately, what looks like happens with this type of market is you wait and see, and you miss out on really being able to maximize your gains. So
because it changes so quickly. I was looking at Ripple the other day, and Ripple was like 25. Literally, you go to sleep and you wake up, and today it's like 86 cents, right? So that whole, I'll think about it and kind of hemming and hawing over it, like that really doesn't, I'm not saying don't do your due diligence, but you got to be quick about it almost. You've got to, and I hate that you have to do quick due diligence, but in a lot of sense you do, because the landscape changes, so quickly.
Yeah,
there's always new information coming out.
Exactly.
And if you wait too long, the information that you have will be old and outdated.
Yeah, and it sounds like it's exponential as far as the speed with this, because if you go to sleep and you said it went from 25 to 80 something cents, that's over a double, that's over a triple what the original value was. So in a matter of hours to see something change like that, that's amazing, and quite honestly unheard of in my lifetime. So with that being said, I guess the main takeaway from this closure is, people got to do the research, but you got to do the research in a manner of which you focus, like get all and any information that you can, so that you can feel confident in making quick moves, because that's the only way you get the confidence to make quick moves. I feel like that about people who invest in general in the stock market. If you're a day trader, somebody who is constantly looking at the numbers of percentages going up and down, it's your knowledge base that gives you the comfort to know when to buy and when to sell, blah blah blah. I feel like you're basically sharing the same sentiment when it comes to cryptocurrency.
And the other part of it is when you look at it, if you're looking at it like, I could lose money, then you're probably thinking about investing too much. Because when you're investing money that you're not exactly going to miss, or if it does, when I invest money into these things, I automatically assume my money is toast. I automatically assume I'm never going to see it again.
Smart man.
Right? So operating with that mentality, it allows me to operate quicker, because I'm in the mindset, well, I'm not going to miss this money anyway. If I lose it, it's not going to hurt. Now, if I'm backing up, the Brinks truck, and if I'm willing to bet the house, and it's going to be a little harder to rip that Band-Aid off. So again, you understand that money is not finite. As long as you have a way to earn it, like working, you'll be able to replenish whatever you may lose. But I assure you, when you start seeing these W's, and I'm a guy who's, I'm getting my victories here, right? Like I said, I don't have this whole thing figured out. And anyone that assumes to have this whole thing figured out, tell them to go fly a kite, because it's changing too fast. But from someone who is gaining W's, if you are operating with just some of the principles that I've, outlined here, like, you're going to be okay, and you're going to be able to pull those triggers a lot faster.
My guy KG, I need to go real quick, grab a broom and dustpan so I can scoop up all these gems you just dropped. So while
we didn't got started on the gems yet. Oh, there's so many more. This
the part one, baby. We got to spoon feed it, because I want people to understand that even though this situation that we're in and the opportunities that are there for cryptocurrency exist, I want to see more people, especially people of color, especially people who are not knowledgeable, to take these gems in and just start. We got to start. Once
And
we
let me
get,
just
go
let me
ahead.
just leave it with this teaser, right? If you're looking at crypto, right? Now keep in mind what I said. It's grown 1,000% last month, over 5%, 5,000% on the year. This thing is outperforming your home. It's outperforming your Vanguard funds. It's outperforming your mutual funds. It's outperforming the stock market, right? If you are in crypto right now, you are literally in a space, in a time where you are making history.
Let's
No doubt
do it.
about it.
Let's do it as a community. Let's do it as a people. Now, I still got to go get these gems up off the ground. So, in that time, in the meantime, I want you to go ahead and drop the plugs of where people can find you, the content, and the links that you have to offer, because your support is free, and we got to just keep
Yes.
on celebrating this building and this atmosphere. It's not always about making a buck off of knowledge, but about expanding the knowledge for the culture. So, go ahead and drop whatever you need for the people to know.
All right, so the website is officially coming soon. As soon as I get that up, I will get that over to JLip, and JLip will get that out to you guys. As
Yes,
of right
sir.
now, you can check me out on YouTube. I'm constantly uploading new content, almost daily, in fact. Go to youtube.com. In the search bar, search Crypto Glenn, CryptoGlenn. Okay? When you get to Crypto Glenn, make sure you subscribe and turn on post notifications. So when you subscribe, there's going to be a little bell that's going to pop up to the right. Click the bell. It's going to notify you anytime I go live, because I do live streams, and it's going to notify you whenever new content is delivered. Okay. As far as the links go, get a pen and paper handy. I'm going to give you a couple seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Go to www.coinbase.com/join, JOIN, /59E51 FC2A1A 65400 F113DD3C. I know that's a lot to remember if you haven't written it down. So what I'll do is I'll give J-Lip the link, and he can post it
Oh, yes.
on this podcast.
Yes,
Okay. Again,
absolutely.
keep in mind, whenever you buy $100 worth of crypto, whether it be Bitcoin, whether it be Litecoin, whether it be Ethereum, it's going to give you an additional $10. You can use that to either buy more, or keep in mind, whenever you, again, if you're a little bit more savvy and you understand the theory behind wallets, whenever you move wallets to and from, it's going to be able to cover those transaction costs. Okay. What I would do is, again, if I'm brand new to this space, what I did when I first started is I bought and I hold, and I got my feet wet, and from there it just took off. So I'd probably use 110, buy enough crypto, sit on it, and just monitor for a little while and just watch the gains come in.
Amen, brother. Dog, appreciate you. As always, KG, the big homie, the crypto
sir.
guru. You heard the link. Now, if you needed time to grab a pen and a pad and you didn't think to press pause, that's on you. Just rewind it. This is audio. We ain't need the countdown, but we appreciate it. My dog, Metro Detroit representative, KG. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you for
And we
joining
do
us.
tutorials on the YouTube. We do tutorials. So I actually hold your hand and walk you through about how to set these accounts up. So if you need to go back and watch those and rewind them, you can do that too.
All right. Well, we're going to make it all available for y'all. Again, this is part one. We're going to continue the conversation. But for now, it's your boy J Lip, KG, Thinking Out Loud Podcast. You know what this is. You know who I am. And we out.
Yeah. See ya.
This episode of TOL Podcast was executive produced by J Lip. Music provided by Daisy Smith. And for more episodes, we're on YouTube, SoundCloud, and now iTunes. Go to TOLpodcast.com for the latest. Thank you for listening.